My family exploited my paychecks for years to support my sister's dreams. Until I revealed the truth and claimed my life back with pure revenge. My heels clicked against the polished marble of my apartment building's lobby, echoing in the emptiness of a Tuesday evening. Another 14-hour workday behind me, another milestone reached for Horizon Brands. The client had practically hugged me after my presentation. I checked my phone again. Still nothing. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime and I stepped inside, watching my reflection in the mirrored walls. Quinn Edwards, 32 years old today, senior PR executive, wearing exhaustion like an expensive perfume. My green eyes looked back at me, searching for something worth celebrating. The number on my screen didn't change. 0 messages, 0 calls. I told myself it didn't matter. I was a grown woman who handled multi-million-dollar accounts. Birthdays were for children. But when I unlocked my apartment door, the small cake I'd bought myself that morning sat accusingly on my coffee table. A single candle stood unlit in its center, a pathetic little soldier awaiting orders that wouldn't come. "Happy birthday to me," I whispered to no one. I dropped my leather briefcase by the sofa and kicked off my heels, sinking onto the cushions. My apartment felt hollow tonight, despite the careful decorating I'd done to make it feel like home. The clock on my wall ticked steadily toward midnight, counting down the final minutes of my birthday. My phone remained stubbornly silent. I reached for my laptop thinking I'd distract myself with work until this day was officially over, maybe check that proposal one more time. But instead, my fingers betrayed me. Opening Facebook. The first post froze me in place. There was my brother Miles, champagne glass raised high, surrounded by smiling faces. Behind him hung a banner, "Congratulations on your promotion." My father's arm was draped around his shoulder, pride radiating from his face. My mother stood on his other side, beaming up at her son. The timestamp showed the photos were posted 4 hours ago, on my birthday. I scrolled down, each image a fresh wound. Dozens of pictures, the entire extended family there. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't seen in years, all gathered around Miles, celebrating. The comments swam before my eyes. "So proud of our superstar," my father wrote. "The Edwards family legacy continues," my mother added. My hand trembled as I set the laptop down. They didn't forget my birthday. They chose to celebrate something else instead. Again, the memory surfaced without invitation, sitting alone at the restaurant table. 11 years old, a single birthday candle melting into my cake as I waited for my family to return from Miles's debate competition. They'd promised they'd be back in time. They weren't. Then at 17, shipped off to Grandma's house on my birthday weekend, while my parents toured Yale with Miles. "It's his future, Quinn," Dad had explained, not quite meeting my eyes. My college graduation, overshadowed by Miles's engagement announcement at what was supposed to be my celebration. Dinner, the conversation quickly shifting from my summa cum laude honors to wedding venues and guest lists. Just last month, my father dismissed the Horizon campaign that increased client revenue by 41%. "It's just advertising, Quinn," he'd said, glancing at his watch. "Not like Miles's work in finance. That's the real impact." I picked up my phone and scrolled through my contacts. Family names blurred together, people who'd never once called to ask about my accomplishments, my struggles, my life. An email notification popped up on my screen. I opened it mechanically, then blinked at the message. My performance bonus for the Horizon campaign, $82,000. My phone rang, startling me. My mother's name appeared on the screen. For one foolish moment, hope fluttered in my chest. "Hello?" I answered, hating the eagerness in my voice. "Quinn, darling," my mother's voice bubbled through the speaker. "I'm so glad I caught you. Listen, we're planning a little something for Miles and Jessica's anniversary next month. And I was hoping you could help out. Nothing major, just handling the catering and maybe the decorations. You're so good at that sort of thing." The clock struck midnight. My birthday was officially over. "Mom," I said, my voice shaking, "today was my birthday." A pause. "Oh," she said, sounding genuinely surprised. "Oh, honey, with Miles's big promotion, it just slipped our mind." Slipped their mind, like always. I stared at the email still open on my laptop. $82,000. More money than I'd ever had at once. Something shifted inside me, like tectonic plates, sliding into a new formation. My voice steadied. "Don't worry about it, Mom," I said, the words coming from somewhere new and unfamiliar. "I understand what's important to this family." And for the first time in my life, I truly did. 4 days later at work, my fingertips hovered over the keyboard, frozen in disbelief. The group chat I wasn't part of, but thanks to Mom's accidental invitation I'd entered, sprawled across my screen like a crime scene, each message more damning than the last. Quinn should contribute significantly to Miles's anniversary gift, my father wrote at least. $20,000. My mother's reply appeared below. She just got that bonus. Time she supports the family for once. And there it was, my name, spelled Quinn, in the family thread. 1 N instead of 2. My own mother couldn't even spell my name correctly. I leaned back in my office chair, the leather creaking beneath me. The Chicago skyline stretched beyond my window, buildings glittering in the afternoon sun. Inside Horizon PR's glass-walled conference room, I was supposed to be preparing for tomorrow's client meeting. Instead, I was discovering just how little I mattered to the people who should care most. My phone vibrated. Jennifer poked her head through my doorway, her dark curls bouncing as she entered. "Your brother's online too," she said, then narrowed her eyes at my expression. "Everything okay?" "Miles used our contacts at Tech," I said, turning my laptop toward her. "Pulled their marketing director into a meeting for his investment firm without asking me." Jennifer scanned the emails, her frown deepening. "This is the 3rd time he's done this," she said. "And your dad thinks you should give him $20,000 for an anniversary party?" She let out a low whistle. "That's messed up, Quinn. Apparently it's time I support the family for once," I said, the words bitter on my tongue. "What exactly have they done for you lately?" Jennifer asked, perching on the edge of my desk. Her bluntness was why we'd been friends since orientation day 5 years ago. The question hung in the air as my office phone continued blinking. Miles, waiting for me to pick up, probably wanting another contact, another favor. "Your bonus was well earned," Jennifer continued. "Lawrence wouldn't have approved it otherwise." As if summoned, my boss appeared in the doorway. Lawrence Chen, CEO of Horizon PR, immaculate in his charcoal suit despite the late hour. "Quinn, the Westfield campaign numbers just came in," he said, sliding a folder across my desk. 41% increase in their quarterly revenue. The board is ecstatic. His smile reached his eyes. "This is why I fought for your bonus. You've earned every penny." After he left, Jennifer squeezed my shoulder. "See, at least someone appreciates you," she said. I finally answered Miles's call, keeping my voice professional despite the anger simmering beneath my skin. He needed Tech's chief marketing officer at his dinner tomorrow, an important potential client. "Family helping family," he said. "I'll see what I can do," I replied, non-committal. That evening, I stopped at Mrs. Bennett's apartment on the 3rd floor. She opened the door with a warm smile that crinkled the corners of her eyes, the scent of freshly baked cookies wafting from her kitchen. "Right on time," she said, ushering me inside. At 84, Mrs. Bennett moved with the determination of someone half her age. "These oatmeal cookies won't eat themselves," she said. We sat at her small kitchen table, the checkered tablecloth soft beneath my fingers. For 3 years, Tuesday evenings had been our ritual, me bringing takeout, her providing dessert, the family I'd chosen rather than the one I was born into. "You look troubled," she observed, pushing the cookie plate closer. I told her about the emails, about Miles using my contacts, about the $20,000 contribution they expected. "And they spelled my name wrong," I finished, hearing the childish hurt in my voice. Mrs. Bennett's hand covered mine. "Some parents never see their children clearly," she said, too busy looking at their own reflection. Her words followed me home, lingering as I changed for the family dinner I'd been dreading for days. My apartment felt like a sanctuary now, away from what awaited me at my parents' house. On Saturday evening, the Edwards family mansion loomed over Lakeshore Drive, 3 stories of stone and privilege. Inside, my mother, Claudia, fussed with flower arrangements while my father, Richard, poured himself a scotch. Miles and his wife, Jessica, sat on the leather sofa, looking like a country club advertisement. Dinner progressed with the usual choreography, my father dominating the conversation, detailing Miles's recent promotion, my mother interjecting with the perfect anecdote. I pushed salmon around my plate, waiting for the inevitable. It came with dessert. "Quinn," my father said, setting down his coffee cup with authoritative precision. "We need to discuss your contribution to Miles and Jessica's anniversary celebration." The room seemed to contract, all eyes turning to me. $20,000 would cover the venue and catering, he continued. "As the only family member with a recent windfall, it seems appropriate." My mother nodded, her pearl earrings catching the light. "Family supports family, darling," she said. The words triggered something in me. Family supports family. When had they supported me? "I can't," I said quietly. My father frowned, not processing my refusal. "I beg your pardon?" he asked. "I can't contribute $20,000, I said, my voice steadying. "That's a quarter of my bonus. I have other plans for it." Silence descended, thick and unfamiliar. No one in this room was accustomed to hearing no from Quinn Edwards. "What other plans could possibly take precedence over your brother's celebration?" my father asked, his voice dropping dangerously. "My future," I answered simply. My mother's face crumpled. "After all we've done for you," she whispered, tears gathering. The performance was flawless, designed to maximize guilt. "What exactly have you done for me?" I asked, the question slipping out before I could stop it. My father rose, towering over the table. "I will not tolerate ingratitude in this house," he said. "Your brother is the real achiever in this family. The least you can do is support his success." His words struck with precision, finding the bruise he'd been pressing my entire life. I stood, legs unsteady beneath me. "I need to go," I said, gathering my purse. My mother reached for my arm. "Quinn, please don't make a scene," she said. But for once, I didn't retreat into silence. I didn't smooth things over. I walked out the front door, guilt trailing behind me like a shadow. But something else too, resolution. For the first time in 32 years, I'd refused to fade into the background of my brother's life. It felt terrifying. It felt right. In my car, hands still trembling on the steering wheel, I made a promise to myself. This was just the beginning. A week later, my mother called every morning at precisely 7:15. I'd started leaving my phone in the bathroom while I made coffee. "Quinn, sweetie, this rebellious phase needs to end," her voice echoed from the speaker as I applied mascara. "Your father hasn't slept properly since that dinner." I watched myself in the mirror, cataloging the familiar tightness around my mouth. "Mom, I'm not rebellious," I said. "I'm 32. "Then why are you breaking our hearts?" she asked. "After everything we've sacrificed for you." The mascara wand froze midair. "What exactly have you sacrificed for me?" I asked. She gasped, genuinely shocked. "How can you ask that?" "We gave you everything," she said. "I have a meeting." "I need to go," I said, hanging up before she could respond. By afternoon, my father strode through the glass doors of Horizon Brands, his tailored suit and commanding presence turning heads. Jennifer caught my eye across the conference room, mouthing code red before disappearing. I intercepted him near reception. "Dad, this is my workplace," I said. "Then you should conduct yourself like a professional," he said, his voice carrying, drawing attention from nearby cubicles. "Professionals honor their family obligations." "Lower your voice," I said, guiding him toward an empty meeting room, acutely aware of curious glances. "What do you want?" I asked. "Your mother hasn't stopped crying," he said. "Is that what you wanted? To punish us because we missed one birthday?" The dismissal ignited something molten inside me. "One?" I said. "Try 20 years of birthdays, graduations, and achievements. You always exaggerate," he said, checking his watch. "The point is, Miles deserves our support. $20,000 from your bonus is more than fair." My phone buzzed with an emergency alert from our biggest client. "I have to handle this crisis," I said. "We'll talk later." "This conversation isn't finished, Quinn," he said. "Actually, it is," I replied, closing the door behind me, hands trembling but voice steady as I dialed the client. 3 hours later, I stood before our executive team, presenting the crisis management strategy that saved the Westridge account. My voice didn't waver once. "That was extraordinary work," our CEO said afterward, hand on my shoulder. "You just saved a $3 million account with that quick thinking. The client called me personally to sing your praises." Pride bloomed warm in my chest, unfamiliar but welcome. "Thank you," I said. "I appreciate that." Walking back to my office, I noticed 6 missed calls from Miles and a text. "Mom's crying every night because of you. Fix this. Fix." I silenced my phone and turned to the stack of congratulatory emails from colleagues and clients. The contrast was stark. At work, I was valued. At home, I was an afterthought unless I was giving something. 3 weeks after my birthday, I sat alone in a corner cafe, laptop open, a half-eaten slice of carrot cake beside me. At a nearby table, a group of friends surrounded a young woman wearing a paper crown. "Make a wish, Amanda," someone called as she blew out her candles. I watched their easy affection, the genuine celebration of her existence. The realization settled like a stone. I would never have this with my family. No amount of achievement would make them see me. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Without quite deciding to, I typed, "Lakefront Property, Michigan." The search yielded dozens of results. I clicked on one, a 4-bedroom house with wide windows facing the water. A wooden deck wrapping around 3 sides, mature pine trees offering privacy. Price, $365,000. I studied the photos, something expanding in my chest with each swipe. This could be mine, my refuge, my choice. The next morning, I called a realtor and arranged a private viewing. 2 days later, I stood on that wooden deck, watching sunlight dance across the lake's surface. The owners are motivated sellers, the realtor explained. They've already moved to Arizona. I'll take it, I heard myself say. I can make a substantial down payment. Her eyebrows lifted. Don't you want to think about it? Maybe bring your family to see it? No, I said, the word feeling clean, definitive. This is for me. Days later, the mortgage approval came through quickly, thanks to my excellent credit. I signed papers in a quiet office, each signature feeling like a declaration of independence. Mrs. Bennett, my elderly neighbor who'd shown more interest in my life than my mother ever had, accompanied me to the closing. You're doing the right thing, dear, she said, patting my hand as I received the keys. Sometimes we need to build our own sanctuary. For the first time in weeks, my hands were perfectly steady. I spent weekends at the lake house, transforming it room by room. The walls filled with framed awards and photographs of moments I was proud of. My college graduation, the team celebration after landing the Westridge account, the magazine cover featuring my PR campaign. The master bedroom became my favorite space. I hung a small wooden sign on the door, the birthday suite. Inside, I placed a reading chair by the window overlooking the lake, stacked books I'd always wanted to read on the nightstand, and splurged on the softest bedding I could find. On a bright Sunday, I typed out housewarming invitations to Jennifer, my colleagues, and Mrs. Bennett. My finger hovered over my family contacts, a lifetime of conditioning urging me to include them. Instead, I pressed send, only to those who had celebrated my successes, who saw me clearly. The action felt small but momentous, like the first stone in a foundation of boundaries I was only beginning to build. That night, I sat on my deck, watching stars reflect on the dark water, phone deliberately left inside. For the first time in my adult life, I felt powerful, not just successful or accomplished, but powerful in the way that came from choosing myself when no one else would. On Sunday, my thumb hovered over the post button, 3 deep breaths. Then I pressed it. The photo wasn't particularly special, just me on the new cedar deck, barefoot with a glass of Pinot Noir, Lake Michigan stretching blue and endless behind me. What mattered was the caption, "Weekend at my new lake house, birthday gift to myself." I set my phone screen down on the weathered wooden railing and lifted my face to the golden Michigan sunset. The September air carried a hint of autumn, crisp against my skin. For 20 minutes, I simply breathed, watching light dance across gentle waves while chickadees called from nearby pines. When I finally checked my phone, the notification count stopped me cold. 17 missed calls, 32 text messages. My mother had called 8 times in 15 minutes. I silenced the ringer and slipped the phone into the pocket of my jeans. Not today. Instead, I settled into the Adirondack chair I'd assembled myself yesterday after writing invitations, and watched the sun sink lower, painting the water in shades of amber and rose. The lake house was enormous, 4 bedrooms, open kitchen, stone fireplace, but every inch belonged to me. Every decision, from the sage green exterior paint to the vintage brass doorknobs, reflected choices I'd made without seeking anyone's approval. My phone vibrated again, persistent as a wasp. When I glanced at the screen, Jennifer's comment appeared, "You deserve this and more. Can't wait to see it in person." Monday morning at work brought 6 voicemails from my mother, each progressively more frantic than the last. "Quinn, call me back immediately," she said. "Where did you get money for a house? Your father wants to know. This is completely irresponsible behavior. Call us. People are asking questions we can't answer. How do you think this makes us look? Your brother is driving to your work right now. You better be there." The final message arrived at 10 a.m. "There's a family emergency meeting tomorrow night. We expect you there. Don't make this worse than it already is." I deleted them all and made blueberry pancakes in my new kitchen. By afternoon, I'd hung curtains in the master bedroom and assembled the patio furniture when my work phone rang. It was Jennifer. "Your brother showed up at the office looking for you," she said without preamble. "He seemed pretty shaken when I told him you'd taken the week off. Asked if I knew where you were." "What did you tell him?" I asked. "That your whereabouts weren't my information to share," she said. Then he got that Edwards family look. You know, the one like I was the unreasonable one for respecting your privacy. I laughed, surprising myself with the sound. "Thank you," I said. "Don't thank me yet," she replied. "He cornered Devin from accounting, who mentioned something about Michigan. So heads up, they might figure it out." I gazed out at my lakefront property where autumn leaves drifted across fresh-cut grass. Let them. Saturday brought my improvised housewarming. Colleagues from the agency arrived with practical gifts and genuine smiles. My boss, Greg, brought an expensive bottle of Cabernet with a handwritten note to celebrating yourself. We toasted on the deck while watching boats drift by. Mrs. Bennet arrived last, her silver hair swept into an elegant bun. She carried a quilt made from fabric scraps in shades of blue and green. "For your bedroom," she said, eyes crinkling with warmth. "Every home needs something handmade with love." I blinked back unexpected tears as she wrapped her arms around me. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. We grilled steaks and corn on the deck. Someone brought a portable speaker, and 80-second music mingled with laughter and conversation. I took photos of everything: friends sprawled on new furniture, sunset reflections. In windows, Mrs. Bennet teaching Jennifer how to properly fold napkins. I posted these images too, each one highlighting the absence of my family while showcasing the people who actually showed up for me. Sunday evening, my father texted, "Where did you get house money?" Answer immediately. I poured another glass of wine and didn't respond. On Monday, I came back to work, and the family gossip network was fully activated. My cousin Elaine called, voice hushed with calculated concern. "Everyone's talking about your lake house," she said. "Aunt Claudia is beside herself. Uncle Richard wanted to call in a family meeting, but you weren't there." "I was busy hanging shelves," I replied, surprised by my own calm. "Quinn," she said, pausing dramatically, "people are saying things." "What things?" I asked. "That you've been hiding money, that you're having some kind of breakdown, that this is all because you're jealous of Miles's success." I laughed then, a real laugh that bubbled up from somewhere new inside me. "That sounds exactly like something my family would say," I said. The call that finally came Thursday night was from my mother. I answered on the fourth ring, settling into my porch swing. "Quinn Elizabeth Edwards," she began, voice tight with controlled fury. "This has gone far enough. The Petersons, the Carsons, even Reverend Wallace has asked about your situation." "My situation?" I asked. "This attention-seeking behavior," she said. "Buying a house without consulting the family, posting those photos. People are asking questions." I rocked gently, watching a heron glide across the water. "What questions?" I asked. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Why you would need to buy yourself a birthday present. Why we weren't there to help you celebrate. It's creating a very uncomfortable situation for this family." "How interesting," I said, keeping my voice light. "It's almost like actions have consequences. We need to fix this," she said, her voice hardening with purpose. "I'm organizing a family dinner Sunday night. Your father and I will explain that this was all a misunderstanding, that we've always supported you." The old Quinn would have agreed immediately, desperate to smooth things over, but that Quinn didn't live here anymore. "I'm available Tuesday next week," I said instead. 7 o'clock, and I'll bring the photo albums." "What photo albums?" she asked. I smiled into the phone. "The ones I've been keeping since I was 11 years old," I said, documenting everything. For once, my mother had nothing to say. On Tuesday next week, the granite steps of my parents' mansion stretched before me like a courthouse walkway. I gripped the 3 photo albums tighter against my chest, my knuckles whitening around their edges. The evening sun cast long shadows across the manicured lawn, shadows that seemed to reach for me, trying to pull me back into old patterns. I rang the doorbell instead of using my key. Tonight, I wasn't family. I was a prosecutor with evidence. The heavy oak door swung open. Dad stood there, all 6'2" of him framed in the doorway, his silver hair perfectly combed despite the hour. His eyes flicked to the albums in my arms, then back to my face. "You're late," he said, turning away without waiting for a response. No hug, no smile, just criticism. I followed him into the foyer, where Mom waited, tissues already clutched in her hand. Her eyes were red-rimmed, makeup carefully applied to look like she'd been crying without actually ruining her appearance. "Quinn," her voice broke dramatically. "We've been so worried." I didn't answer. The script was too familiar. Her tears, my guilt, my eventual surrender. "Not tonight." Miles appeared from the living room, drink in hand. He paused when he saw me, his expression shifting from casual confidence to something uncertain. I stood straighter, holding his gaze until he looked away first. "Dinner's getting cold," Mom said, turning toward the dining room. The table was set with the good china, candles flickering in sterling silver holders, a peace offering or a bribe. I placed the photo albums on the sideboard and took my usual seat opposite. Miles, diagonal from the head of the table where Dad reigned. "Your mother made your favorite," Dad said, serving himself first as always, beef Wellington. It hadn't been my favorite since high school. Miles preferred it. "Let's just cut to the chase," I said, leaving my plate empty. "I know why you called this dinner." Mom set down her fork with a theatrical sigh. "Quinn, sweetheart, we're just concerned about your impulsive decisions," she said. "Buying that lake house without consulting us?" Dad interjected, knife slicing through his meat with surgical precision. "It reflects poorly on the family image. Reckless spending, poor financial planning." "It was my bonus money," I said quietly. "Money that could have been invested properly," he continued, as if I hadn't spoken or contributed to something meaningful for the family. Miles cleared his throat. "Quinn, no one's saying you can't have nice things," he said. "But maybe selling it would keep peace in the family. Mom's been crying every night." Mom dabbed at eyes that remained suspiciously dry. "You're breaking your mother's heart," she whispered. I pushed back my chair and walked to the sideboard. The album felt heavy in my hands as I returned, placing it at the center of the table. "I brought something I thought you should see," I said. Dad's mouth tightened. "We don't have time for scrapbooks," he said. "Make time," I replied, my voice unwavering. I opened the first album, pages of Miles in party hats, Miles blowing out candles, Miles surrounded by towers, of presents, ages 6 through 25, each birthday documented with professional photography. "Turn to page 16, I told Miles. He hesitated, then flipped the page. A photo of his 18th birthday, a car with a giant bow, Dad handing him keys, Mom crying tears of actual joy. I slid the second album forward. "This one's mine," I said. Mom reached for it first, her fingers trembling slightly as she opened it. Empty pages stared back at her, a few scattered photos, me alone with store. "Bought cupcakes, one of Mrs. Bennet hugging me on my 30th. Nothing else," I explained. "There was nothing to put in it. On my 21st birthday, you were at Miles's engagement party. Remember?" Miles flinched. I opened the third album without waiting for a response. "Family vacations," I said. "Disney World, the Grand Canyon, European tours." "I'm not in these because I wasn't there. I was left with Grandma or at summer camp or told there wasn't enough money for everyone to go." Dad stood abruptly, chair scraping against hardwood. "What's the point of this melodrama, Quinn?" he asked. "You've always been the difficult one." "The point is evidence," I said. Next came a spreadsheet printed and highlighted. "This tracks family spending, Miles versus me, college tuition, birthday gifts, car down payments, family trips. The numbers tell their own story. Thousands for Miles, hundreds for me. And this," I said, pulling out a worn diary page, "is from when I was 9. I read aloud. "Maybe next year they'll remember my birthday without Grandma calling to remind them." Finally, I produced a photograph. Christmas dinner, 3 years ago. Anne, empty chair at the table, a place setting with my name on a card. "I was in Chicago, working," I said. "You knew I couldn't come, but you set a place anyway, took this picture and sent it to me with 'We missed you.' You wanted me to feel guilty for not being there, but I was the only one who noticed something." I pointed to the chair. "Look closer." Mom took the photo, squinting. "That's not my usual chair," I said quietly. "That's where guests sit. Even when you're pretending I belong, I'm still an outsider." The silence stretched between us, taut as a wire. Dad's face darkened to crimson. "What do you want from us, Quinn?" he asked. "An apology? Fine, we favored Miles. He was always the priority. He's carrying on the Edwards name, the Edwards legacy." Mom crumpled, real tears now. "We didn't mean to," she said. "It just happened. And then it became a pattern, and I was easier to ignore," I finished for her. Miles hadn't spoken. He was staring at a photo I deliberately placed at the edge of the table, him at 8 surrounded by presents, me at 6, watching from the background, mouth tight in a smile that didn't reach my eyes. I stood, gathering my evidence, except for the albums. Those I left behind. "I don't need your approval anymore," I said, voice clear and steady. "I don't need your love or your attention or your validation. I waited 32 years for you to see me. I'm done waiting." I turned toward the door, shoulders straight, steps unhurried. Behind me, Miles called my name. Mom sobbed. Dad remained silent. I paused at the threshold, not looking back. "The albums are yours to keep," I said. "Consider them a gift." The door closed behind me with a quiet click that echoed like thunder. A year later, on my birthday, the morning sun painted gold across my lake. House deck as I arranged a tray of fresh fruit beside a champagne bucket. 33 candles waited on the cake. Jennifer had insisted on one for each year, plus one for luck. "Need any help?" Mark from marketing called from the sliding door, balancing a platter of pastries. "Just set those anywhere," I said, smoothing my red sundress and checking my watch. "Everyone should be here within the hour." A year made quite the difference. Last birthday, I'd sat alone in my apartment with a store-bought cake. Today, my deck bustled with colleagues and new friends, all here to celebrate me. My phone buzzed with congratulatory texts about my promotion to senior director, announced yesterday, celebrated today. The timing felt poetic. The lake sparkled beyond the railing, reflecting a sky that matched my mood. Dr. Levine, my therapist, would call this progress. Our weekly sessions had helped me understand the family dynamics that shaped me. Generational patterns, she called them. Breaking them took courage. Courage that looked like spending Thanksgiving at a resort in Vermont instead of my parents' house, like muting group texts when they turned manipulative, like building my own traditions from scratch. Quinn Jennifer raised her mimosa glass. To the birthday girl who taught us all how to choose ourselves. Glasses clinked, laughter rippled. I absorbed the warmth of genuine connection, so different from the hollow performance of family gatherings. A car door slammed out front. I knew that engine sound, my brother's BMW. Miles stood awkwardly at the edge of the deck, holding a wrapped package. The party conversation dimmed as he approached. "Sorry to crash," he said. I wanted to give you this in person." We hadn't spoken since the photo album confrontation, since he watched his perfect family narrative crumble under the weight of evidence. "Join us," I said, surprising myself with how much I meant it. Later, when the party moved indoors, Miles and I sat at the end of the dock. The package rested between us, still wrapped. "Therapy's been eye-opening," he admitted, watching a sailboat cut across the horizon. "Dad still won't go, but Mom's trying. She talks about you differently now." "And you?" I asked. "I never saw it until you showed us," he said. "How they erased you while spotlighting me." He pushed the package toward me. "Open it." Inside was a framed photograph I'd never seen before. Me at 7, perched on our old tire swing, laughing at something beyond the camera, just me. "Found it in Dad's storage boxes," Miles explained. "Had it restored, proof you existed, even when nobody was looking." My throat tightened. Not a solution, but a beginning. A knock at the lake house door pulled me back to the party. Through the glass, I saw my mother standing alone on the porch, clutching a small bakery box. "She insisted on coming," Miles said. "I didn't tell her where until today." Mom's hands trembled as she held out the box. Inside sat a cupcake with a single candle. "Happy birthday, Quinn," she whispered, her rehearsed smile faltering into something more genuine. "I brought carrot cake." "You always liked that, didn't you?" "I did," she remembered. "The party's winding down," I said, stepping aside. "You can stay for cake if you'd like." Her relief was palpable. Small steps. After everyone left, I walked back to the dock as twilight settled over the lake. Last year, I'd spent my birthday staring at an empty inbox in a sterile cafe. Tonight, I was surrounded by gifts chosen with care, echoes of laughter, and the beginnings of boundaries that protected without isolating. My phone chimed with a text from Mrs. Bennett. "Did you enjoy your day, dear?" I smiled as I typed my reply. For the first time, I truly celebrated myself. The lake house windows glowed behind me, light reflecting on the gentle waves. I raised my glass to my silhouette against the sunset, toasting the woman who finally learned that validation began within.